You know, in the world of sports, there are names and then there are legends. And very, very few names carry the weight, the sheer global recognition of Cristiano Ronaldo. So today, we're going to break down the anatomy of that legend.
Okay, so to really wrap your head around his career, you've got to start with the numbers. And this one, it's just mind-blowing. We're talking over 900 official career goals. I mean, that's a territory that almost nobody has ever reached in the history of the sport. It's the result of more than 2 decades of pure, relentless, elite performance.
But look, numbers are just numbers, right? They don't tell the whole story. The real question, the one that really gets to the heart of his legend, is this. How did this all happen? How does a kid from a small Portuguese island born with nothing manage to forge himself into a global icon, maybe one of the greatest athletes ever? That's the journey we're about to trace.
And that journey, it all starts right here, Funchal, Madeira. This is a place that's a world away from the bright lights of Madrid or Manchester. This is the ground where the foundation of his unshakable, almost superhuman drive was built.
I mean, his early life wasn't just tough, it was marked by real hardship. His family had very, very little, and his father, who he was close to, struggled deeply with alcoholism and sadly passed away right as Ronaldo's career was just starting to take off. You have to understand, these weren't just roadblocks. This was the fire that forged an unbelievable will to create a completely different life for himself and his family.
And the biggest tests of his life? They came at him incredibly early. Just think about it. At only 12 years old, he leaves his home, his family, everything he knows, to move to the mainland all by himself. A massive sacrifice for any kid. Then, at 15, his whole dream is this close to being over. He's diagnosed with a racing heart condition that could have ended his career before it even began. But his reaction to this tells you everything you need to know. He has laser surgery, and he's back out on the training pitch literally days later. That fight, that refusal to be beaten, it was there from the very beginning. Now, that kind of relentless drive, it doesn't stay a secret for long. Pretty soon, it caught the eye of one of the most powerful and respected figures in the world of football. And that, right there, is when everything changed. This story is the stuff of legend, seriously. Sporting is playing a friendly against Manchester United. And this skinny 18-year-old kid with frosted tips in his hair just runs circles around United's veteran defenders. They couldn't get near him. The story goes that on the plane ride home, the United players were literally begging their manager, the great Sir Alex Ferguson, to sign this kid. Ferguson didn't need much convincing. He told his staff he was not leaving Portugal until the deal was done. But see, Ferguson didn't just sign a player. He took on a project. He immediately gave Ronaldo the iconic number 7 shirt, a number that came with immense pressure and history at that club. And under Ferguson's guidance, Ronaldo completely transformed. All those flashy step-overs started to have a purpose. He built himself into an incredible physical specimen. That raw, explosive talent was molded into ruthless efficiency. He became a goal-scoring machine, leading the team to glory and, at just 23, winning his first Ballon d'Or as the best player on the planet. But if you think that was his peak, you've got another thing coming. That was just the warm-up. The next chapter would see him make a move to the biggest club in the world, Real Madrid. And there, he wouldn't just be a star. He would completely redefine what being a superstar even meant.
Just look at that number, 94 million euros. In 2009, it was a world record transfer fee. The price tag alone tells you everything you need to know about the insane level of expectation. 80,000 people showed up to the stadium just to watch him be unveiled. The pressure was just astronomical.
And you know what? He didn't just meet those expectations, he absolutely blew them out of the water. These numbers are they're ridiculous. 450 goals in 438 games. He averaged more than 1 goal every single time he stepped on the pitch. For 9 years straight. It's just statistically absurd.
And of course, you absolutely cannot talk about his peak without talking about the rivalry. For the better part of a decade, Ronaldo versus Messi was the biggest, most compelling story in all of sports. And it was such a perfect contrast, right? You had Ronaldo, the ultimate athlete, a specimen of forged perfection, created through an obsession with training and an unbreakable will to win. And then you had Messi, the quiet, natural genius, with this almost magical talent that just seemed to defy logic. They pushed each other to heights the game had literally never seen before.
Okay, so we've seen the machine on the pitch. But who is the actual man behind the brand, behind the goals, behind the rivalry? The public image has often been pretty one-dimensional, but the reality? Well, it's a lot more complicated than you might think.
All right, this is the quote.
the one that's followed him his entire career. It's blunt, for sure, and to a lot of people, this is him. This is the arrogance they see, and it's what defines him in their eyes. But it's really only one piece of the puzzle.
Because then you see this side of the story. The reason he has no tattoos, it's so he can donate blood regularly. He doesn't drink alcohol at all, a personal choice that's deeply tied to his father's struggles. He once sold one of his most precious individual awards, the Golden Boot, for 1.5 million euros and gave the money to build schools. He's donated millions to charities, often very quietly. It paints a picture of a guy who was shaped profoundly by his past and is driven by some really deep personal values.
And see, it's that mix, right? The incredible confidence, some would say arrogance, on the field, and this other, quieter, principled side off of it, that's what makes the story so fascinating. So when you put all of it together, the hardship, the rise, the absolute peak, the personality, what is the real legacy that he's leaving behind?
Well, first off, the trophy cabinet is it's undeniable. 5 Ballon d'Ors as the world's best player, 5 Champions League trophies, the biggest prize in club football, over 30 major club trophies, and maybe most impressively, a European championship with his country, Portugal, something many thought he could never achieve. He has won everything there is to win, multiple times.
And then there are the records, which honestly are just on another planet. We're talking about the all-time leading goal scorer for Real Madrid, the all-time leading scorer in the Champions League, the all-time leading scorer in all of men's international football. Oh, and he's the only player in history to score in 5 different World Cups. He sits alone at the top of so many of football's most important lists.
So this brings us all the way back to our first question. What is his true legacy? Is it the incredible, almost endless list of trophies and records, or is the real legacy the story behind them? The story of a poor kid from a tiny island who, through nothing but sheer, uncompromising, relentless will, made himself into a legend. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most inspiring part of it all.